So, not really sure what the point of this is, if there is one, but it was something to do that I had on my mind. Could do it more, could do it less. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I just had stuff on my mind, and I didn't have a lot going on. And though it's mostly stuff that I figure nobody cares to hear, that's what I keep telling myself and why I don't do much of anything. So here I am doing something. Um, if anybody sees this, and I'm probably not going to post this. I'm just doing this right now just to see how I feel. I don't know where to start. I don't have a script. That was my idea was to just start recording and start talking and seeing what I say and seeing what I end up doing with it. Because I watch a lot of videos. I've watched a lot of videos lately and over the years about people just varying just how they feel about certain things, about a lot of aspects of the world, about their experience, about life, about society, and all that kind of stuff. I just already sound so pretentious. I have my own opinions. I don't know which ones I want to express, if any, but a lot of things go through my mind, and I figured rather than sit in my basement and do nothing, pretty much nothing all day, every day again, I could do something that has a chance of like affecting someone that's not inside this room. Um, and I suppose the first thing that could be is that should probably be my friends and family, my extended family, which I find that everybody has so much of, and friends that I've been finding that there's surprisingly few people that have any, or have as many as I do. I don't even have, I wouldn't say I have a lot, and that's not a problem at all whatsoever. But I find that a lot of people nowadays have very few to absolutely none in their lives, and it greatly affects the way that they move through life. And no matter what I say, don't take me as being, just find myself to be someone who moves through life in some kind of extraordinary way. I am, at this point in my life, pretty pathetic. Um, it's just watching the ways, hearing the stories, and the way in which people behave. Even watching some people that are close to me, the way that they behave out in the world and the way that they like affect other people. It's kind of, it's kind of what's the word? Not quite confusing, but it's hard to fully relate to. And it's hard. It's sometimes even hard to watch, and a lot of times hard to hear about. Um, I have a tendency not to. Well, I hear that it's increasingly common to recess into oneself. Apparently, as a man, that's a thing that men do. We, in at certain points in our lives, when we don't have specific direction, we just kind of self-isolate. And I hear a lot of men, they do this and they become miserable. They feel, and a lot of people, if they do that, but men apparently have a tendency to do that. They become miserable, they become bitter, they become just vindictive people, and that's how they end up going down a lot of bad rabbit holes, how they end up just throwing their entire lives away, how they end up just turning into the type of people that you could never relate to, that you could never sympathize with. And a lot of it seems as though it's based around people, these same people, um, that, these same people who, isolate themselves and end up going down the wrong paths. A lot of these people seem to, it's the amount of investment it seems that some people have into others, which isn't unnatural, like to have investment in other human beings. Oh, shocker. It seems as though some people have a strange relationship with the concept of relationships, and that they behave in a way that makes it seem as though like there are obviously in certain situations. There's many people, especially today with this loneliness epidemic that people have been talking so much about. But a lot of people seem to be in a position where they don't have anyone to go to, and they seem to put a lot of stock in the ability to do so, which doesn't not make sense. But there's a lot of people who go about it in the wrong way and end up in a worse position because of that. Whether that be because they try to pursue relationships that aren't healthy for them, or they go about seeking relationships in ways that are destructive and are counterproductive and end up making them feel more isolated for the amount of rejection and the lack of longevity of the relationships because they pursue them in the wrong ways, which then hurt people, and other people get the perception that people more regularly act like this because there's so many people who are in a position where they isolate themselves and do this. It's it's this self-replicating cycle. I don't believe that's the correct term, but I'm sure you get the point. And it's just strange because I don't feel like I relate to that fully. Well, I can empathize. I can never remember which one it's empathize or sympathize, but I can understand how they got there, but I don't feel like I can relate to the feeling, or at least not anymore. And I feel as though it's one of the types of feeling that's like, as an adult, I feel like a lot of people, they have a hard time like being able to relate and fully like stoop down to the level of, I'm not calling these people children, but they have a hard time stooping down to the level of a child to fully understand how they're acting, why they're acting that way, and remember that like once upon a time, that's who you were, and think about how you would feel if you were this child. How do you think you'd most productively help the situation, and how would you feel if you were treating yourself in the way that you're doing so right now? That's why I feel, and I feel like that kind of lack of introspection is how a lot of people end up just doing things that end up, causing generational curses. Which, I'm not a superstitious person. It's just like, oh my god, I need to pick up a thesaurus. It's a figure of speech. It's a figure of speech. And that, a cycle in which one person, I'm sure you understand the concept, but just in case, a cycle in which one person's trauma that they acquire from someone who raised them, or someone, just, well, anyone problem in their life, due to that trauma, pass that trauma onto someone else who is then in a similarly vulnerable position than they were. And that chain continues. And I feel like that kind of lack of introspection and relatability, I feel like has led to, and not always, there's a lot more factors that have led to it, but it's led to a lot of the chaos and a lot of unhappiness in the current state of society, as a large American society. Which, once again, I feel like such a pretentious asshole sitting here in the dark with his fucking room on and talking when you see society, bro. It's because these people, other people, not me, these people just fucking up society. But once again, I'm a fucking loser. But and I really wish I could feel as strongly to these people. I don't wish I, would be compelled to do the action there, but I almost wish I felt as strongly as these people about the way that they do, about the things that they try to do, because I have a hard time fully relating. Um, I don't feel as nearly as connected to the people around me. I feel as it seems as though other people do. I feel as though like I have friends and family that I care about, but I feel as though my care goes as deep as like you bring me you bring me happiness. You have some kind of relationship to me. I feel as though I have some level of responsibility, I have a level of obligation to service you, to care about you. And there's some people like, oh yeah, I'd like to make you happy. But it's not to the level which it's like some people. It's like, and I really want you. I wanna, I really wanna be like next to you at all times. I want to seek out your attention. I want to spend immense amount of time with you. I want to, I want to share every moment that I can with you. I want to just be in your presence. I want to just be on the phone and just talk for the sake of talking. I can't relate to any of that. And I feel as though I'm not alone. I don't feel like I'm a majority there, but I feel as though it's becoming increasingly easy to find people that can relate to that, at least in some level, or at least people that can relate to the type of behavioral cycles that leads to. Because I do hear about situations, like plenty of situations in which people within just the cycle of loneliness, in which they want connection to people. Like they want, not that they want connection to specific people per se, but they want to be connected to people that lack connection. But when the idea of going out to connect to people crosses their mind, they don't they don't feel compelled to. They feel uncomfortable and go back to their comfort zone, which in concept that's very understandable. A lot of these people, they do this and they end up sitting alone and being miserable, and they just wish they'd have the guts or the know-how to go out and seek these connections. And I'll say, when I'm in public and I'm dealing with strangers, I do feel nervous when it's like the idea of like going up and talk to a random girl that, that gets me to like, I can't. But I feel as though it's not exactly, I feel as though I don't hear the same reasons for it that other people do. Because what I hear from other people is that, or what it seems, what I feel like I hear most often is that people say it's like, for one, they get too comfortable, they don't want to leave their comfort zones, which the comfort spots, the comfort zones, which fair, relatable. But a lot of these people, it's always a fear of rejection. What if they say no? How will I feel? It's a fear of, actually, it's mostly rejection. Yeah, that is most of it. Yeah, fear of rejection, a fear of being a nuisance, and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I feel as though, like, if I were to go ask out a girl, my fear isn't that she says no. My fear is that she says yes. Because now this is another person I have to deal with, and I really don't like dealing with people. And that sounds like an antisocial human being. That sounds like, well, not, I know antisocial doesn't mean what everybody thinks it means. It means like having behavior that is against the good of society. A lot of people feel as though they want the opportunity to be in people's presence. They love the opportunity to be afforded the time of day of others. They like the opportunity to just feel perceived. And I hate being perceived in most cases, but that I feel as though it's largely attributed to the fact that in most cases in which I feel as though I'm perceived, nothing good comes of it when I fully express myself. A lot of the things that, when I'm fully perceived, a lot of the things that I do, a lot of my hobbies, for instance, especially with sanding, a lot of nerdy hobbies like card games and video games. And I don't really have any other. The gym barely counts. That's not really a hobby. I mean, I guess by the definition of a hobby, it's a hobby, but that barely counts. But the only things that I do with my free time that count as some kind of a hobby are just different varieties of games. I don't like know any. I don't have any like skills. I don't do art anymore. I don't do music. I don't do sports. I used to be in band, but just the bare minimum to get, the free. We'll get a deal on a trip and to spend time with my friends, which barely happens. It really sucks. But I have pretty much nothing right now, and for most things, it feels as though it's too much effort with not enough payoff to be invested in. I just feel as though nowadays it's just there's not many things that I feel compelled to do because I generally want to do them because I want specific results, and I don't like the process. I don't care for the process. And when you're young, like, no matter, I feel like that's probably why people end up just dedicating their lives to things very early. Because when you're young, you're bad at pretty much anything. So if you can get a foothold at something, it feels really good to have that. And so you just keep chasing it. So if you don't get exposed to enough things, you won't get any footholds, and you just dive head first into just exactly one thing. But, it's just common knowledge. I don't know how common it is, but it should be common knowledge that the only way that you end up getting that foothold is by trying and failing again. But that's a lot easier when you like the process. But for most things, it's like the process sucks. But like that's part of it. That's called hard work.